The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched for nearly a mile in every direction. Thousands of species sat in their designated sections, their bodies ranging from massive stone-like creatures to beings made entirely of light. For 3,000 years, this hall had been the center of galactic civilization. Wars were stopped here. Treaties were signed here. The fate of billions was decided within these ancient walls. Today, the hall was completely silent. Admiral walked alone across the empty floor toward the central speaking platform. She was a small woman by human standards, barely 5 feet tall, with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. She wore the black uniform of Earth's Defense Force, and her boots echoed against the polished floor with each step she took. Every eye in the massive hall watched her. The humans had requested this emergency session 3 days ago. Such requests were rare. In the 200 years since humanity had joined the galactic community, they had asked for emergency sessions only twice before. Both times had been to report attacks on their colonies. Both times, the Council had promised to investigate. Both times, nothing had changed. Reached the platform and stood still for a moment. She looked up at the thousands of faces staring down at her. Some showed curiosity. Some showed boredom. Many showed open contempt. The humans were considered one of the weakest species in the galaxy. They had no natural armor like They could not survive in vacuum like They had no psychic abilities like They were soft, fragile creatures who lived on a single small planet at the edge of known space. For 200 years, they had been treated as a minor species. Their complaints were ignored. Their requests were. Their colonies were raided again and again by pirates and hostile empires who knew that attacking humans carried no real consequences. 7 major attacks in 50 years, millions of human lives lost, and the Council had done nothing. Activated her translator device and began to speak. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," she said. Her voice was calm and steady. "I come before you today not to ask for help, not to request protection, not to beg for justice." She paused and let her words hang in the air. "I come to deliver an ultimatum." A ripple of surprised murmurs passed through the crowd. The ambassador, a massive creature covered in thick gray plates, let out a rumbling laugh that shook his entire section of seats. "An ultimatum," they repeated. "From humans, this should be entertaining." Did not react to his words. She simply continued speaking. 3 weeks ago, a fleet from the Empire attacked our colony on New Sol. They killed 47,000 civilians. They destroyed our hospitals, our schools, our homes. When our defense ships arrived, they were already gone, along with everything of value they could carry. She pressed a button on her wrist device, and a holographic image appeared above her. It showed a burning city, bodies in the streets, children crying over the remains of their parents. "This was the 7th major attack on human territory in 50 years, continued. "We have filed complaints after each one. We have provided evidence. We have named the attackers, and each time this council has done nothing." The ambassador, a tall insect-like creature with 4 arms, stood up from his seat. "The Empire denies any involvement in." "Sit down," said quietly. The ambassador froze. Something in the small human woman's voice made him hesitate. After a moment, he slowly lowered himself back into his seat. "We are done asking for help," said. "We are done begging for protection. From this moment forward, humanity will protect itself." She pressed another button, and the holographic image changed. Now it showed a device unlike anything the Council had ever seen. It was a sphere about the size of a small moon, covered in strange symbols and patterns that seemed to move and shift even as the audience watched. "For the past 170 years," said, "humanity has been working in secret on a project we call the Sun Killer. This device has the ability to destabilize any star, causing it to collapse into a black hole within minutes." The hall erupted in chaos. Thousands of voices shouted at once. Some screamed that she was lying, Others demanded proof. The ambassador was no longer laughing. Waited for the noise to die down before she continued. "We have built 12 of these devices," she said. "They are currently positioned at secret locations throughout the galaxy. Each one is capable of destroying an entire solar system." "Impossible," the representative said. "There were beings of pure energy among the most advanced species in the galaxy. Such technology does not exist. The humans are bluffing." Looked directly at the representative. "In exactly 6 hours," she said, "we will demonstrate this technology on an uninhabited star in the outer rim. You are welcome to send observers." The hall fell silent again. "Here is our ultimatum," continued. "Any attack on human territory by any species for any reason will be met with the complete destruction of the attacking species' home system. No warnings, no negotiations, no second chances." She let those words sink in. "If you attack us," she said, "we will kill your son, you will freeze in darkness. Your entire species will die. This is not a threat. This is a promise." The ambassador stood again, his 4 arms trembling with rage. "You cannot do this," he said. "This is against every law of civilized warfare. The Council will never allow." "The Council has allowed 7 attacks on our people," interrupted. "The Council has allowed millions of our citizens to die. The Council has proven that it will not protect us." She paused. "So we will protect ourselves." She turned and began walking back toward the exit. "Wait," the High Speaker called out. The High Speaker was an ancient being, so old that no one remembered what species it had originally been. "You cannot simply leave after making such claims. This council demands proof." Stopped and looked back over her shoulder. "Proof will be provided in 6 hours," she said. "I suggest you watch carefully. After the demonstration, humanity will go silent for 30 days. During that time, you may discuss this among yourselves. You may decide if you believe us. You may plan and scheme and debate." She smiled, and there was no warmth in it. "But remember this," she said. "If anyone attacks human territory during those 30 days or ever again, there will be no more discussions. There will only be darkness." She walked out of the hall, leaving thousands of shocked aliens staring at the space where she had stood. In the back of the hall, Ambassador leaned toward his colleague, a young scientist named. "Do you think they believed her?" he whispered. Shook her head slowly. "No," she said, "but they will. In 6 hours they will believe everything." Nodded grimly. He had hoped it would never come to this. For decades, he had worked for peace between humans and the other species. He had believed that diplomacy could solve their problems. But diplomacy had failed. 47,000 people were dead on New Sol. Children had been killed in their beds. Families had been torn apart. Now there would be no more diplomacy. Now there would only be fear. And fear, knew, was the only language the galaxy truly understood. The emergency meeting began the moment Admiral left the Great Hall. Representatives from every major species gathered in smaller rooms throughout the council complex. They shouted at each other. They argued. They called the humans liars and fools and children playing with toys they did not understand. In the chamber, Supreme Commander stood before his advisors with all 4 of his arms crossed over his chest. His compound eyes showed no emotion, but his voice dripped with contempt. "The humans are bluffing," said. "They have been weak since the day they crawled out of their little planet. They do not have the technology to destroy stars. No one does." His military advisor, a younger named, stepped forward carefully. "Supreme Commander," said, "perhaps we should wait and observe their demonstration before we act. If there is even a small chance that they are telling the truth." "There is no chance," interrupted. "I have studied humans for decades. They are soft creatures ruled by emotion. They do not have the will to destroy an entire species. They are trying to scare us because they are too weak to fight us." He turned to face a holographic map of human territory. We will attack again, continued. We will hit them harder than before. We will show them and the entire galaxy that the Empire does not respond to threats from lesser species. Wanted to argue, but he knew better. Supreme Commander had led the military for over 40 years. He had conquered 12 worlds and destroyed 4 species who had opposed him. He did not accept disagreement. Prepare the fleet, ordered. We strike the human colony on Hope's landing in 72 hours. By the time their so-called demonstration is over, we will already be burning their cities. Meanwhile, in a small office deep within the human section of the council complex, Ambassador was trying to prevent a war that he feared had already begun. His communication screen showed the face of Director Sung, the head of Earth's Defense Council. Sung was an older man with tired eyes and a face full of worry. The demonstration is proceeding as planned, Sung said. Doctor and her team have finished the final calibrations. The Sun Killer is ready. Rubbed his eyes. He had not slept in 3 days. Director, he said, I have spent my entire career building relationships with other species. I have convinced dozens of races that humans can be trusted, that we want peace. In one speech, Admiral destroyed everything I worked for. She told the truth, Sung replied. Sometimes the truth is destructive. But threatening to destroy entire species, killing billions of innocent people, this is not who we are. Sung was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was heavy with sadness. Who we are, he said slowly, is a species that has lost millions of people while the galaxy watched and did nothing. Who we are is parents who buried children killed by raiders. Who we are is survivors who rebuilt our colonies 7 times only to watch them burn again. He leaned closer to the screen. I did not want this, none of us wanted this, but we tried peace, we tried diplomacy, we tried following the rules, and it did not work. Our people kept dying. He paused. So now we try something else. Understood the logic. He even agreed with it in his heart. But he could not shake the feeling that humanity was about to cross a line that could never be uncrossed. What happens if they do not believe the demonstration? Asked. What happens if someone attacks us anyway? Sung's face became hard. Then we do exactly what Admiral promised, he said. We kill their son, we destroy we prove that we mean every word. After the call ended, sat alone in his office for a long time. He thought about his daughter who lived on the colony at New Garden. He thought about his parents who had survived the 3rd attack on Earth's moon base. He thought about all the friends he had lost over the years. Maybe Sung was right. Maybe fear was the only option left. A knock on his door interrupted his thoughts, entered without waiting for permission. She was carrying a tablet and looked both excited and nervous. The observation ships are arriving, she said. Over 300 vessels from 60 different species. Everyone wants to see if we are lying. Stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the endless stars of the galaxy spread across the darkness like scattered diamonds. Are you ready? He asked. Nodded. The device is in position near the target star. All systems are functioning perfectly. In 4 hours, we will show them what humanity can do. And if something goes wrong? Smiled slightly. Nothing will go wrong. I have been working on this technology for 20 years. The Sun Killer works exactly as designed. The target star will collapse into a black hole in less than 3 minutes. Turned to face her. How do you feel about this? He asked. You are about to destroy a star. You are about to prove that humans have the power to end civilizations. Does that not bother you? Thought carefully before answering. My grandmother was on New Seoul, she said quietly. She was visiting my aunt when they attacked. They found her body in the ruins of a hospital. She had been trying to help wounded children escape. Her voice remained steady, but could see the pain in her eyes. I do not want to kill anyone, continued. I built the sun killer hoping we would never have to use it against a living world, but I will not apologize for giving my people the power to defend themselves." She looked out at the stars. "The galaxy has treated us like prey for 200 years, she said. "Today we become predators, and predators are not hunted." 4 hours later, 300 observation ships gathered around an uninhabited yellow star in the outer rim. The star was called KX7749 in the galactic database. It had no planets, no resources, no strategic value. It was just a ball of burning gas floating alone in the void. Human ship Herald of Dawn floated 5,000 kilometers from the gathered observers. It was a small vessel, barely larger than a personal transport, but mounted on its hull was a device that glowed with strange, pulsing energy. Admiral's voice came through every communication channel in the area. "Observers of the Galactic Council," she said, "you are about to witness the first demonstration of human stellar technology. Please record everything you see. Share it with your governments. Let them know what we are capable of." On the observation ships, thousands of aliens watched with a mixture of skepticism and fear. "This is a waste of time," the observer growled. "Humans cannot destroy stars. Their technology is too primitive." "Then why are you here?" the observer replied. The did not answer. Aboard the Herald of Dawn sat at the control console. Her hands moved across the interface with practiced precision. 20 years of work had led to this moment. "Sun killer armed," she said. "Targeting KX7749. Initiating destabilization sequence in 10 seconds. She took a deep breath. 987654321. She pressed the final button. For a moment, nothing happened. Some of the observers began to laugh. Then the star began to change. Its surface rippled like water struck by a stone. Massive waves of energy rolled across its burning surface. The yellow light began to shift, turning orange, then red, then a deep and terrible purple. "What is happening?" the observer whispered. The star started to collapse, slowly at first, then faster and faster. It folded in on itself like a giant fist closing around empty air. The light grew brighter and brighter until the observers had to look away. Then suddenly, there was darkness. Where the star had been, there was now only a point of absolute blackness, a black hole, a wound in space itself. Total silence filled every observation ship. Admiral's voice came through the communicators again. "The demonstration is complete," she said. "We will now begin our 30 days of silence. Use this time wisely." The Herald of Dawn turned and vanished into hyperspace. For several minutes, no one moved. No one spoke. 300 ships hung motionless in the darkness, their crews staring at the impossible thing the humans had just done. Finally, the observer spoke. Its voice was barely above a whisper. "They were not bluffing," it said. "The humans were telling the truth." The observer did not laugh anymore. Instead, he immediately ordered his ship back to his. He needed to warn his people. The galaxy had changed forever. The news of the demonstration spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Within hours, every species knew what the humans had done. Videos of the collapsing star played on news feeds from one end of known space to the other. Scientists studied the footage and confirmed that it was real. The humans had actually destroyed a star. Panic gripped the Galactic Council. Emergency meetings were held day and night. Species that had ignored humanity for centuries suddenly wanted to talk. Ambassadors who had refused to meet with human representatives now begged for appointments. But the humans remained silent. Just as Admiral had promised, no human ship responded to communications. No human ambassador answered calls. For the first time in 200 years, humanity had nothing to say to the galaxy. The silence was terrifying. The Supreme Commander watched the demonstration footage for the 100th time. His compound eyes showed no emotion, but his 4 hands trembled slightly as they gripped the edge of his command table. "It changes nothing," he said. His advisors exchanged nervous glances, stepped forward again, more carefully than before. "Supreme Commander," he said, "with respect, this changes everything. The humans have proven they can destroy stars. If we attack them now and they use this weapon against our sun—" "They will not," interrupted. "Humans are weak. They lack the strength to kill billions of innocent people. This demonstration was meant to scare us, nothing more." "But Supreme Commander," spun around to face directly. His eyes burned with fury. "I have given my orders," he said. "The fleet launches for Hope's Landing in 6 hours. We will destroy that colony and show the galaxy that they do not bow to threats." Wanted to argue. He wanted to scream that this was madness, that they were risking their entire species for the sake of one commander's pride. But he looked at its face and knew that no argument would change his mind. Supreme Commander had built his career on aggression and strength. He had conquered worlds by refusing to back down. In his mind, showing fear was worse than death. So said nothing. He simply bowed and left to prepare the fleet. 6 hours later, 47 warships entered hyperspace, heading toward the human colony on Hope's Landing. Hope's Landing was a small world on the edge of human territory. About 300,000 people lived there, mostly farmers and miners who had come looking for a quiet life away from the crowded cities of Earth. They had built their homes in the valleys and plains of this gentle world. They had raised children and planted crops and dreamed of the future. They did not know that death was coming for them. The fleet emerged from hyperspace in the middle of the night, local time. Most of the colonists were asleep. The few who were awake saw the sky suddenly fill with ships and had only seconds to feel terror before the attack began. They were efficient killers. They had destroyed colonies before and knew exactly how to cause maximum damage in minimum time. Their weapons rained down on the surface, turning buildings into ash and people into memories. When it was over, the colony was gone. 300,000 humans had lived on Hope's Landing when the sun rose that morning. By noon, fewer than 2,000 remained, hiding in caves and underground shelters, praying for rescue that might never come. The fleet gathered the resources they wanted and prepared to leave. Supreme Commander watched from his flagship, satisfaction glowing in his compound eyes. "Send a message to the human government," he ordered. "Tell them that this is what happens when they threaten the Empire. Tell them their ultimatum means nothing to us." The message was sent. For 12 hours, there was no response. Then, without warning, every human ship in the galaxy began to move. On Earth, Director Sung stood in the main command center beneath the surface of Mount Everest. Around him, hundreds of officers monitored screens and coordinated the largest military operation in human history. Admiral stood beside him, her face hard as stone. "All Sun killer platforms are in position," an officer reported, "targeting the home star, ready to fire on your command." Sung closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, there was no doubt in them, no hesitation. "Send one final message to the government," he said. "Tell them they have 1 hour to evacuate whoever they can. After that, we fire." The message was sent. Chaos erupted the moment the human transmission arrived. People flooded into the streets, screaming and crying. Ships launched into space without authorization, everyone desperate to escape the coming darkness. In the military command center, Supreme Commander read the message 3 times. "They are bluffing," he said, but his voice shook. "They would not actually do this. They are not capable of." Supreme Commander interrupted, his voice high with fear. "Our observers confirmed the demonstration. The Sun Killer is real. If they fire it at our star, everyone on this planet will die." Stared at the message. For the first time in his long life, he felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. Contact the humans, he ordered. Tell them we surrender. Tell them we will do anything they want. Just do not let them fire that weapon. Hesitated. Supreme Commander, our communications show that all human channels are still silent. They are not accepting any messages. Then send ships, send ambassadors, send anything. Our nearest ships are hours away. We do not have time. Looked around the command center at his officers. These were warriors who had followed him into battle dozens of times. They had conquered worlds together. They had never shown fear before. Now every one of them looked terrified. There must be something we can do, whispered. But there was nothing. They had attacked despite the warning. They had killed 300,000 humans despite watching a star die. They had proven that they would not respect humanity's ultimatum. Now humanity would prove that they had meant every word. In the human command center, Director Sung watched the countdown timer reach 0. Fire, he said. Across the galaxy, a single human ship approached the home star. It was called the Final Word, and it carried the second sun killer device ever deployed in combat. Doctor was not aboard this ship. She had asked to be there, but Sung had refused. He said she had done her job by building the weapon. Now others would do the job of using it. The officer aboard the Final Word was a young man named Jin. He was 26 years old. He had a wife and a baby daughter waiting for him on Earth. He had volunteered for this mission because his parents had been killed in the third attack. His hands were steady as he activated the sun killer. Targeting Prime Star, he said into his communicator, initiating destabilization sequence. He pressed the button. The home star began to die. On the planet's surface, billions looked up at their sun. At first, nothing seemed different. The yellow light still shone down on their cities and forests and oceans. Then the light began to change. It shifted from yellow to orange to red. The temperature began to drop. Day turned to twilight, then to darkness. Screams filled the streets. In the military command center, Supreme Commander stood frozen at his window, watching his son collapse. All his power, all his victories, all his conquests, none of it mattered anymore. I was wrong, he whispered. They were not bluffing. Those were his last words. The star collapsed into a black hole. Along with 3 other planets in the system, was pulled into the gravity well and crushed into nothing. 12 billion died in less than 4 minutes. An entire species gone forever. Across the galaxy, the news spread even faster than it had after the demonstration. This time, there were no videos to watch. There was only silence where the home system had been. Silence in a black hole. The humans had done exactly what they promised. And the galaxy finally understood what that meant. 3 days after the destruction of the Galactic Council held its most important meeting in 3,000 years. Every species sent representatives. Every seat was filled. The Great Hall was so crowded that thousands had to watch from screens in nearby buildings. But no humans came. The High Speaker stood at the central platform, looking older and more tired than anyone had ever seen. When it spoke, its voice echoed through the silent hall. We are gathered here to address the most terrible event in galactic history, the High Speaker said. The destruction of the home system and the death of 12 billion sentient beings. No one moved, no one spoke. The humans have done what they promised, the High Speaker continued. They have proven that they possess the power to destroy any species in the galaxy. They have proven that they will use this power without hesitation. A representative stood up slowly. Unlike before, there was no contempt in his voice, only fear. What do we do now? He asked. The humans are still silent. They will not respond to our communications. How do we know they will not attack us next? The High Speaker shook its ancient head. We do not know, it admitted. For the first time in 3,000 years, this council does not control its own fate. The humans do. The representative rose, its energy form flickering with anxiety. We must destroy them, it said. Before they destroy us, we must combine our forces and attack Earth before they can deploy more of their weapons. And what if they have already positioned sun killers near our home stars? Another representative called out. The humans said they built 12 devices. They have used 2. Where are the other 10? The hall erupted in fearful murmurs. We could attack Earth itself, someone suggested. Destroy their planet before they can respond. And guarantee that they destroy all of our planets in revenge, the representative replied. The humans are not stupid. They would have prepared for such an attack. If we move against them, we all die. The arguing continued for hours. Plans were suggested and rejected. Alliances were proposed and abandoned. But in the end, everyone reached the same conclusion. There was nothing they could do. The humans held all the power now. The only option was to wait and hope that humanity would show mercy. On Earth, Director Sung watched the council meeting through intelligence feeds. His face showed no satisfaction, no triumph, only exhaustion. Admiral stood beside him. They are afraid, she said. Good. Fear is what kept them from helping us. Fear is what allowed them to ignore our suffering. Now they understand what it feels like. Sung nodded slowly. I gave the order to destroy 12 billion people, he said quietly. I watched an entire species die because I pressed a button. How am I supposed to live with that? Was silent for a moment. You live with it by remembering why it was necessary, she said. You live with it by making sure it never has to happen again. And what if it does happen again? What if another species attacks us? Then we do the same thing. We destroy their sun. We kill their world. Her voice was hard, but her eyes held deep sadness. We become the monsters they always said we were, because being a monster is better than being prey. In another part of the command center, Ambassador sat alone in a small room. He had not eaten in 2 days. He had not slept in 3. He kept seeing the footage of the sun collapsing, kept imagining the billions of people watching their light fade away. Many of those people had been innocent. Children, families, people who had never hurt anyone, who had nothing to do with the attacks on human colonies. They had died because their leaders made a terrible decision. Was that justice? Did not know anymore. A knock on his door broke his thoughts, entered and sat down across from him. The council is still debating, she said. They cannot decide what to do. There is nothing they can do, replied. We made sure of that. Studied his face for a long moment. You think we were wrong, she said. It was not a question. Thought about his answer carefully. I think we had no choice, he said finally. I think everything we tried before failed and this was the only option left. But I also think we killed 12 billion people who did not deserve to die. Both things are true. Nodded slowly. My grandmother would have hated this, she said. She spent her whole life helping others. She believed that kindness was the answer to everything. She paused. But kindness did not save her. Kindness did not protect the children she died trying to help. So you believe we did the right thing? Was quiet for a long time before answering. I believe we did the necessary thing, she said. The right thing would have been for the galaxy to protect us 200 years ago. The right thing would have been for the Council to punish the after their first attack. But they did not do the right thing, so we had to do the necessary thing instead. Understood. He did not feel better, but he understood. What happens now? He asked. Now we end our silence, said. Now we tell the galaxy what we expect from them. And now they decide if they want to live in peace or die in darkness. The next day, humanity broke its silence. Admiral appeared on every screen in every system across the galaxy. She looked the same as she had in the council chamber, small, gray-haired, calm. But now everyone knew what she was capable of. Now everyone knew that this little woman had the power to end worlds. "Citizens of the galaxy," she began, "you have seen what we can do. You have seen that we keep our promises. Now you will hear our terms." She paused to let her words sink in. "First, all attacks on human territory will stop immediately. Not tomorrow, not after negotiations. Now, any ship that enters human space without permission will be destroyed. Second, the colonies that were attacked will be rebuilt. The species responsible for each attack will pay for the reconstruction. They will also pay reparations to the families of everyone killed. Third, humanity will have a permanent seat on the Galactic Council. Our voice will carry equal weight with any other species. Our concerns will be heard and addressed. Fourth, the Sun Killer technology will remain under human control. We will not share it. We will not sell it. We will not negotiate about it. It exists to protect humanity, and it will continue to exist for as long as humanity needs protection." She leaned forward slightly. "These terms are not open for discussion," she said. "They are not suggestions. They are requirements. Any species that refuses to accept these terms will be considered hostile to humanity." She let that threat hang in the air for a moment. "We did not want this," she continued, her voice softening slightly. "We wanted peace. We wanted to be part of the galactic community. We wanted to trade and cooperate and build a better future together. For 200 years, we tried to achieve those things through patience and diplomacy." Her eyes hardened again. "But you did not let us. You attacked us. You killed us. You ignored our suffering. So now we have taken peace for ourselves. We have taken the protection you refused to give us." She stood up straight. "The choice is now yours. Accept our terms and live in peace. Reject them and face the consequences. We have proven that we will do what we say. Remember that when you make your decision." The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, governments and councils met to discuss the human ultimatum. Some wanted to fight. Some wanted to negotiate. But in the end, they all reached the same conclusion. They could not win. They could not resist. They could only accept. One by one, every species in the galaxy agreed to humanity's terms. The age of human weakness was over. The age of human power had begun. 10 years passed. The galaxy was different now. No one attacked human colonies anymore. No one raided human ships or threatened human citizens. The species that had once treated humanity like prey now treated them with careful respect. Some even said they were treated with fear. Ambassador walked through the halls of the Galactic Council building, just as he had done thousands of times before. But now the other representatives moved out of his way. Now they bowed their heads when he passed. Now they remembered who he represented and what his people could do. He did not enjoy their fear. He never had. But he understood why it was necessary. Today was an important day. The 10th anniversary of the Ultimatum, as everyone now called it. The 10th anniversary of the destruction of the 10 years since humanity had proven that they would never be victims again. Entered the Great Hall and took his seat in the human section. It was a large section now, in the center of the hall where everyone could see it, not pushed to the edges like before, not hidden away like an embarrassment. Humanity had earned its place. The High Speaker began the ceremony. "We gather today to remember," it said, "to remember the lives lost, to remember the mistakes made, to remember the price that was paid for peace." Thought about those words, the price that was paid for peace. 12 billion, 300,000 humans on Hope's landing, 47,000 on New Sol, millions more across decades of attacks. So much death, so much suffering, all because the galaxy had refused to protect the weak. But that was over now. Humanity was not weak anymore, and because humanity was strong, no one else had to die. That was the strange truth had learned over the past 10 years. The Sun Killer had not just protected humans, it had protected everyone. No species dared to attack any other species now, because they knew what could happen when violence got out of control. They had seen an entire civilization erased in minutes. Peace through fear. It was not the peace had wanted, but it was the peace they had. After the ceremony, walked to the observation deck at the top of the council building. He found already there, looking out at the stars. She was older now. Gray streaked her black hair and lines marked her face, but her eyes were still sharp, still determined. 10 years, she said without turning around. Can you believe it has been 10 years? Stood beside her. Sometimes it feels like yesterday, he said. Sometimes it feels like a lifetime ago. Nodded slowly. I keep thinking about she said. Not the ones who died, the ones who survived. The ships that escaped before we fired. There are about 2 million of them scattered across the galaxy now, refugees without a home. Knew about the survivors. Some had found places on other worlds. Some lived in ships that wandered from system to system. Some had joined human colonies, where they worked and lived alongside the species their empire had once attacked. I met a child last month, said. She was born after the destruction. She never saw her. She asked me why humans had killed her grandparents. Closed her eyes. What did you tell her? I told her the truth. Her people attacked us. Her leaders refused to stop. We gave them a chance to evacuate, and then we did what we had promised to do. Did she understand? Shook his head. How could she? She is just a child. She only knows that her family is dead and her species is scattered. She does not understand politics or ultimatums or the math of mutual destruction. They stood in silence for a while, watching the stars. Do you regret it? Asked finally. Everything we did. Thought about the question for a long time. I regret that it was necessary, he said at last. I regret that we lived in a galaxy where kindness was weakness and violence was the only language anyone understood. I regret that children died because their leaders were fools. He turned to face her. But I do not regret protecting my people. I do not regret making sure my daughter could grow up without fear. I do not regret that no human child will ever again watch their parents die in a raid. Nodded slowly. I built a weapon that killed 12 billion people, she said. I will carry that weight forever. But if I had to choose again, if I had to decide whether to build the sun killer or let humanity remain helpless, I would make the same choice. She looked out at the stars. We did not start this war, she said. We just ended it. Below them, in the streets of the council city, people from 100 different species walked together. Traders sold goods to scientists. Children of 5 different races played games in the parks. Couples from different worlds held hands and talked about their futures. Peace, real peace. Not the fake peace of before, where some species were protected and others were prey. A peace where everyone was equal. A peace where everyone was safe. All because humanity had been willing to do what no one else would do. All because one small species had refused to be victims anymore. Admiral joined them on the observation deck. She was retired now, living quietly on a colony world where she tended a garden and wrote her memoirs. But she still came to Earth for important occasions. Beautiful, is it not? She said, looking at the city below. All these species living together, working together, building a future together. It came at a terrible cost, said. All good things do, replied. Freedom costs lives, peace costs lives. The only question is whose lives and how many. She turned to face them both. We paid the cost, she said. We bore the weight of doing what had to be done. Because of that, children of 1,000 species will grow up in peace. They will never know the fear we knew. They will never watch their homes burn while the galaxy looks away. She smiled, and for the first time saw true peace in her eyes. We became monsters so others could be free, she said. That is the burden humanity chose to carry, and I believe in my heart that it was worth it. looked at the stars one more time. Somewhere out there, in a patch of darkness that used to hold a yellow sun, there was a black hole, a monument to the day humanity changed forever. He did not know if they had done the right thing. He was not sure he would ever know, but he knew that his daughter was safe. He knew that no child on Earth would ever wake up to burning skis. He knew that humanity would never be prey again. Maybe that was enough. Maybe that was all any of them could hope for. "We should go," said. "The president is waiting for us at the memorial." Nodded and turned away from the window. The past was past. The dead were dead. All they could do now was build a better future on the foundation they had created. A future of peace, a future of safety, a future paid for in blood and fire and the death of a star. As they walked toward the exit, heard a young human child laughing somewhere below. The sound echoed up through the building, pure and joyful and completely unafraid. That laugh, realized, was why they had done what they did. That laugh was worth everything. Earth had given the galaxy its last ultimatum. And the galaxy had finally learned to listen.